welcome back to Story Time with Og. And today's book is called Bubble Homes and Fish Farts. P.U., that's why I live in fresh water. By Fiona Bayrock and illustrated by Carolyn, Conahan. And you like facts? Do you like books about facts? Well, these are facts about all different kinds of animals, and with a little humor tossed in there. So I think it'll be a cute read. So let's read it together, and maybe we'll learn something along the way about that. Okay? All right. Welcome back to Story Time with Og, and Bubble Homes and Fish Farts is today's book. So, you know what? I think I will speak in an English accent today, since this is a bunch of facts and I want to sound smart. Bubbles are soft and squishy and full of air. They shimmer, they float, and they are very handy. Animals make bubbles, ride bubbles, breathe bubbles, and even live in bubbles. Animals use bubbles in amazing ways. Bubbles are for sailing. Violet sea snails can't swim. Instead, they sail along the ocean surface on rafts made of bubbles. Oh, I forgot to read that. Violet sea snail. Janthina must be another name for it there. All right, where was I? First, the snail oozes a blob of bubbles that hardens. Then the snail hangs upside down from its floating bubble raft. It drifts with the wind and the currents, feeding on small surface animals it happens to find. The bubble raft doesn't break because the snails are lightweight thanks to their paper-thin shells and small size, about the size of a large grape. Very few shelled animals live at the surface. This means violet sea snails can feast on food that most shelled animals can't reach. Sailing, sailing, burp. Bubbles are for running. The water shrew, Sorex palustrius. With a name like water shrew, it's no surprise that this tiny mammal is an expert swimmer. Over and over it dives to the bottoms of mountain lakes and streams, searching for insect nymphs and small fish to eat. Many water-loving animals have webbed feet to help them swim. The water shrew has hind feet that work like swim fins, but they aren't webbed. Instead, they have a fringe of rigid hairs around each toe that does the job. The hairs also trap air bubbles under the feet, enough that the shrew can actually run on top of the water for several seconds at a time. Now, it's not a miracle, but it is a very good trick. Wow, that is something I learned today. Today I learned water shrews have hairy toes. Bubbles are for breathing. The backswimmer, Notonecta glauca. Like scuba divers, backswimmer bugs take 2 containers of air underwater with them so they can breathe. The backswimmer's air containers are pockets on its body. Clinging upside down to an underwater plant, the backswimmer looks up for mosquito larvae, small tadpoles, and other unsuspecting prey. When something tasty comes along, the backswimmer bubbles carry it up for the attack. It can also chase prey by paddling long, powerful hind legs like boat oars. Backswimmers can stay underwater for hours before riding their bubbles to the surface for fresh air. Upside down is right side up for me. Bubbles are for keeping warm. The sea otter, Enhydra lucis. Sea otters spend their lives in cold ocean water, swimming, floating, diving for food, eating, having babies, and even sleeping. Most sea mammals have a thick layer of fat under the skin to protect them from the cold. Otters don't. So how do they stay warm? Bubbles to the rescue. Sea otters blow bubbles and whisk the water to make even more bubbles. When they rub the bubbles into their fur, sea otter hairs are shaped to zip-lock together to keep air bubbles in and cold water out. The layer of air trapped in the dense underhair works like a down comforter to help sea otters stay warm. Who needs a hot tub? Not me. Well, that's another thing I learned today. I never knew that. Wow. It's a very interesting book. Bubbles are for living in. Oh, this is going to be a creepy one. Water spider. Argibivere aquatica. I can't pronounce that word. Water spiders weave their webs underwater. That's a hard sentence to say. Let's say that one again. Water spiders weave their webs underwater. Whew. New webs look like little trampolines attached to underwater plants. Once a web is complete, the spider dives from the surface with tiny air bubbles clinging to its hairy body. Ugh. It shakes and scrapes them loose under the web. Ugh. The bubbles float upward and get caught in the web. The spider keeps diving with more bubbles until a big bubble forms from the smaller ones. The bubble pushes the web upward so it looks like a bell. Ooh. The spider then lives inside the bubble. Ooh. It breathes the bubble air as it looks for prey, eats, mates, lays eggs, and hibernates. Gooey. I don't like that. Did he say something? No. Cozy. I don't think so. Ugh. Bubbles are for finding food. The star-nosed mole. Candylura cristatata. The star-nosed mole feels and smells its way underground and underwater. The fleshy star nose works like a bunch of super fingers, touching, here, there, and everywhere, searching for something good to eat. Star-nosed moles also have a good sense of smell, even when underwater. As it swims, a mole blows bubbles from its nose and breathes them back in. A quick sniff of the bubble air tells the mole if lunch is nearby and which way to go to find it. Fish and worms, yummy meals for a star-nosed mole, leave underwater scent trails. These scents in the water mix with the bubble air. Swimming moles sniff to follow scent trails underwater, just as dogs do on land. I smell something yummy. Not me. Not me. Yeah. How would you like to have a bunch of fingers on your nose? Oh, I don't think so. Bubbles are for fishing. The humpback whale, Megaptera navagibashara. With a mouth the size of a small living room, the humpback whale opens wide and swims through a school of herring. Powerful muscles push the mega mouthful of water out again through baleen plates. The baleen is made of fingernail material, so it's strong and flexible. It works like a sieve to trap the fish which are then swallowed whole. Humpbacks work together to get the most fish per scoop. One whale releases streams of bubbles while swimming in a circle. This makes a bubble net that herds fish into a tight group. Then several whales, maybe a dozen or more, swim up through the bubble net with mouths open wide. What teamwork! They fall for it every time, silly fish. Bubbles are for chasing prey. The Weddell seal, Lepton chotes weddellii. Weddell seals swim far and dive deep under the Antarctic sea ice to catch hundreds of fish each day. This seal can be sneaky, sometimes swimming within a few inches of a fish before the fish notices. Fish hide from seals in the bumpy underside of the ice. Looking up, seals see the dark fish shapes against the sunlight shining through the ice. But the fish are tucked in the cracks and out of reach. When this happens, the Weddell seal blows a stream of bubbles. The bubbles chase the fish out of hiding. The seal charges forward and gulp! Lunch. Uh-oh, seals! With fish breath. Fish. Yum. Bubbles are for talking. Herring. Clupia pelusia is the Pacific, and Clupia herringis is the Atlantic. My tongue got twisted there for a minute. Each night, thousands of herring gather near the ocean surface and release streams of bubbles from their backsides. That's right, fish farts. Well, sort of. To be true, flatulence. That's the scientific word for fart. The gas should come from digesting food, but the herring farts, or fast repetitive ticks, farts, as the scientists call them, come from air the herring have gulped at the surface, not from food the fish have eaten. Scientists think farting might be a way that herring talk when it's too dark to see each other. Most other fish can't hear the herring farts, so herring can signal each other without alerting salmon and other fish predators. You might wonder what we talk about. Sorry, top secret. Fish stuff. Can't tell. You farting fish. Bubbles are for, well, popping. Snapping shrimp. Aliphius heterocales. Snap, pop, pop up. Day and night, snapping shrimp in coral reefs slam their snapper claws shut. They do it to communicate, to scare animals away, and to catch prey. But the loud sound is made by a bubble, not the parts of the claw hitting each other. When the snapper claw closes, water squirts out of it. The water moves so fast, about 60 miles per hour, or 100 kilometers per hour. That's the bubble forms. Oh, that a bubble. Whoa. Okay. That a bubble forms. Whoa, I messed that sentence all up, didn't I? That's all right. It's okay to make mistakes. The bubble quickly collapses into itself with great force. It's this implosion, like an explosion, but inward, not outward. Where was I? Oh, that makes a sound. A colony of shrimp popping away makes quite a racket. In fact, sometimes it's so loud it gets in the way of U.S. Navy sonar. Oh, Pop up, pop up. It's a shrimp thing. Wow. Bubbles are for playing. Bottlenose dolphin. Terciops truncatus. Young dolphins play with bubbles. They push bubbles around and chase them. It's a game to try and bite the bubbles before they burst at the surface. Some dolphins also make bubble rings. A quick flick of the head starts a small underwater whirlpool. Bubbles enter the whirlpool from the dolphin's blowhole and form a ring about as thick as a pencil and up to 2 feet wide. Dolphins play with their rings and sometimes bite them, sending thousands of tiny bubbles wiggling to the surface. More rings. No problem. Another flick of the head and another bubble ring appears. We like fun. Fun is good. Just for fun? Bubbles are for tasting. Yuck! Rattlebox moth. Utythesia ornithorhynchus. Most moths have drab coloring and fly at night to avoid predators. Not rattlebox moths. They flash their orange stripes and black and white polka dots in broad daylight, as if to say, "Nee, nee, 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 nee," to predators. These moths stay alive, though, because they have a secret defense. Their bodies contain a bad-tasting chemical that comes from the plants they eat. When a rattlebox moth is disturbed, a glob of yellow bubbles seeps from either side of its head as a warning. The chemical is so disgusting to spiders that when a rattlebox moth gets caught in a web, the spider will cut the moth loose and let it go. Don't mess with me. Really? Oh. Maybe humans need to learn how to do that. Scare those spiders away. Bubbles are for hiding in. The juniper spittlebug. What? Clastopepera juniperina. Shortly after hatching, juniper spittlebugs nymphs begin feeding on the juice from tender juniper stems. The nymphs let out juicy bubbles until their bodies are completely covered in foam. This wet bubble home keeps the nymph from drying out in the hot sun. Not many other insects or animals want to disturb the gooey, bubbly mess, so it makes a great hiding place, too. Safe from parasites and predators. Spittlebug nymphs hang around upside down in their spittle bubble homes for a month or two until they're ready to molt into adults. Adult spittlebugs fly, walk, and hop from plant to plant. No more bubble homes for them. Shh! Ick! Bubbles are for nesting. The African gray tree frog. Chiromantis zimmerverblina. Most frogs lay eggs in winter. In winter. I said winter. It's water. Sometimes my brain changes words. I don't like it. Most frogs lay eggs in water. The African gray tree frog lays eggs in a nest in a tree. The female frog climbs onto a branch above a pool of water. She releases a thick liquid, and before it has a chance to drip into the pool, she kicks it very fast with her hind legs. Flap, 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 flap. Soon she's whipped the liquid into a big blob of foam. After she lays eggs in this foam nest, male frogs fertilize them, and then the outer bubbles harden. The foam inside stays moist, a perfect place for the eggs to hatch into tadpoles. A few days later, the tadpoles all wiggle out and fall into the water. Ooh. Careful, kids. Don't talk to any predators. Wee. Boy, I tell you what, animals are weird. Oh, I had to pause the video for a second so I could take a drink. Okay, bubbles are for shooting hoops. Pearl gourami? I don't know what that is. Chigacoster leary. Oh my goodness, I guess it's a fishy. Fish playing basketball? No, not really. But the way gouramis care for their young sure looks like basketball. The male gourami gulps air from the surface and blows sticky bubbles. A few hundred bubbles together make a floating nest. Then it's time to shoot some hoops as the female releases eggs. The male swims around and collects them in his mouth. Ew. Then he spits each egg into the nest. 2 points! The male guards the nest until the eggs hatch and the young fish called fry. The young fish are called fry. A fish fry. Are able to swim and feed themselves. Until then, he uses his basketball moves to return the eggs and fry that happen to fall out. Nice shot. Fish fry. Oh, that's funny. Bubbles are for saving animals. Human. Homo sapiens. I knew that one. Clang. A huge hammer pounds a long steel tube into the bottom of San Francisco Bay. Each tube, called a pile, measures 8 feet across and is longer than a football field. Wow. The new Bay Bridge will be built on more than 100 of these piles. Clang! Above the water, it sounds like a giant church bell, but under the water, the sound waves are powerful enough to kill nearby fish. Each pile is pounded thousands of times. That's a lot of dead fish. Construction crews use bubbles to save the fish. They pump air into plastic piping placed around the pile. Whew, that's a hard sentence too. The air flows through holes in the piping and streams in bubbles to the surface. The curtain of bubbles stops dangerous sound waves from reaching the fish. Well, that's pretty smart. Life-saving bubbles. Amazing! And they tickle, too. I didn't know that. This is a very informative book. I'm learning all kinds of new stuff. New neat stuff. Oh, wow, here's some facts and stuff. I tell you what, I'm just going to pause the video. I'm not going to pause it. You pause it. Me pausing the video wouldn't do anything, would it? All right, you pause the video right here. And you can read all this amazing facts to yourself. Okay, pause. Did you get it? All right, you paused it. Let me turn the page. I'll take a pause here too. Pause. Hello. Okay, I assume you paused it to read all those. Let's continue. And here's another one. This is a glossary with different words in it that you might not know. You can read the word and it tells you the definition, just like the dictionary. Yes. And acknowledgments. Ooh, she's swimming with the fishes. Yes, swimming with the fishes. Oh, bubbles, blowing bubbles. Hey, that's my name. My name's actually Bubbles. Bubbles the whale. Well, that was a cute book. I really liked that. I learned a lot of things. How about you? Did you learn anything new? I bet you did. It's never too late to learn. I love learning new things. That's why I love school. School was fun. I learned a lot of cool things in school. Some things I learned and the teacher didn't even teach me. I just learned them along the way. That's life, isn't it? You just learn things along the way. Like now, you were probably going along YouTube and like, what am I going to watch? Hey, what's this? What's this guy wearing these funny clothes? He's going to read a book. Oh, that's a pretty cool book. Hey, it's about bubble homes and fish farts. Well, I'll stick around and read it with him. I'm sure that's exactly what happened too. Well, thank you for coming to Storytime with Dog. It's always fun for me to read your stories. And today's book was pretty cool. So I'll see you next time, and I really, truly hope you come back. And remember, I love you. Be good to each other. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.